Welcome to 10 Minute Magic, a weekly format covering news in the world of Magic the Gathering in 10 minutes or less. I am Joseph Dunlap.
And I am Ben Cotty. It's good to be back, and this is what's going on in Magic the Gathering this week. There is a new boss man at Wizards of the Coast. Hasbro published a press release announcing that Greg Leeds, long-running president for WOTC, has resigned. There wasn't any real comment on the reasons for his resignation. His position will be filled by none other than Vice President of Microsoft, Chris Cox. Chris Cox will take over on June the 6th. This is quite big news, I would say, for WOTC. It's a sort of high-profile signing. The good thing for me is that the statement they put out actually says that he's an avid player and fan of the Wizards of the Coast brands, including Magic and Dungeons and Dragons. So this is a good start. I think Magic has kind of shown that it recruits a lot of people from within the community that play the game. The focus on the announcement by the community at large has been on the obvious experience in the field of computer programs and gaming that he's had within Microsoft at Leapfrog with educational gaming and with the Xbox division as well, and linking it to the potential to impact on the often maligned MTGO program.
The first major shakeup of judge level since 2004 was introduced recently. This shakeup recognizes that a lot has changed in the game. There are many more Grand Prix being run simultaneously on the same weekends, which has pressured the top levels of judging. PPTQs have increased the demand for level 2 judges with better experience. The new format has only 3 levels, but with advanced roles available to level 3 to branch out and contribute more to the game, and with a specific Grand Prix head judge pool of 20 to 25 judges who are specifically qualified to run these massive events.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big shake-up and one for a long time. They help clarify the steps to advancing as a Magic judge, which I think were poorly understood by many within the judging community and externally. They specifically call out the difference of expectation for each level. So as an L1 myself, I note that I'm very specifically penciled in for regular EL FNM type Magic, which was always the assumption, but wasn't really guaranteed. I've noted that the demand for keeping my levels toughened slightly. It's not very much, but I have to run an event now in 6-month period instead of in a 12-month period. But should I wish to go up to level 2, I understand my path for doing so much better, and there's essentially a competencies tick chart. So once you've done all those things, there shouldn't be any reason why you cannot then be an L2. The announcement was then followed by what I assume is the first batch in what they're calling advanced roles, which are for judges in the L3 category now to be able to take on additional responsibilities and differentiate themselves. And these people are being tasked with coordinating the new setup in the coming months, with the 5th to be added. They are Sean Cantonese, Toby Elliott, Jason DeMathu, and Kim Warren. I know Kim specifically from being the UK regional coordinator, and really happy for all of them in this new role. The third major news of the week comes in the form of Enter the Battlefield. Enter the Battlefield Life on the Magic the Gathering Pro Tour is its full name, and is a feature-length documentary created by Nathan Holt and Sean Kornhauser of the Walking the Plane series. It centers its story on 7 figures from the Pro Tour's past and present, on the different origins and motivations of the players: Owen Turtenwald, Reed Duke, William Jensen, Chris Bakula, Patrick Chapin, Shahar Shenhar, and Melissa Dottora as they work to achieve their personal goals on the Pro Tour. And while we continue to wait on the expected Magic the Gathering feature movie in cinemas, we have what looks like a great piece of work from the people behind the Walking the Plane series. This seems a bit more of a serious affair to try and reflect on the Magic Pro Tour in the best possible light. The people they've picked are very prominent players in the community. I'm really happy they're focusing on the characters, because this is something that the community has requested coverage try and do more, and build up these personalities as role models in the game, and also to make it more interesting to root for your favorite.
Well, that's pretty much it for the news, because, as everyone knows, everyone's been enjoying Shadows over Innistrad with its release that occurred this past weekend. People have been playing Sealed, they've been doing League, they've been drafting. And Ben, have you done anything with Shadows over Innistrad?
No, I've unfortunately, with a large question mark, been in Orlando for 2 weeks on a family vacation at all the theme parks, which was brilliant, but it means I've not had a sniff of a Shadows over Innistrad card. I'm hoping to rectify that as soon as possible this week.
I actually did get to draft this past Friday, as well as Saturday, and the store had quite a turnout for being a new LGS.
you're being modest, Joseph, when you say you were playing in these events. I think you did rather well if your Twitter account had anything to show about it.
Yes. I did win a 2-pod draft, 16 people, and it's a small store, so that's actually quite a good turnout. And I will bring up how that went, what I was playing, and so forth with this next bit, because we move on now to talk about comments on recent articles. So we'll start off with Fabrizio and Terry's article, Shadows over Innistrad Sealed Deck is slow, play Silent Observers and win more games. So as you pointed out when we were discussing this, and as is pointed out in the discussion in the comments, Fabrizio kind of assesses the set based on his sealed perspective. I have found that overall the draft format is quite grindy. So what I played was actually black-green fat bottoms. And it was lots and lots of big toughness. Those of you who have been listening to Draw 4 podcast, which I'm also on, and Ben is a veteran of, you'll remember that when we had our L2 judge on to talk about the sealed format and talk about the rules, and then we had on our 2 sealed experts, Brenda and Jared. Jared actually had done a lot of research into the formats for draft and sealed and said that really where you want to be is 3 toughness, and that 1 power isn't necessarily a good place to be either. As we look at the comments, we have Adria Paricio Perez, who said, really nice article, very useful for Grand Prix Barcelona. Vincent Carriaso said, I found SOI Limited to be a mixed bag. I think it depends on the play group. In my area, limited-wise, everyone goes ultra-aggressive or pure grindfest. So Fabrizio replied to Vincent and said draft is surely going to be way more aggressive and faster, but that's the case with basically every set. But overall, both sealed and draft are slower than the sealed and draft of other sets.
Yeah, I don't want to comment too heavily, having not searched any of the cards, but I think any set that's got werewolves and the spirit and synergy decks, especially synergy decks and a synergy format, which this looks like, tends to drive a faster environment, because as soon as you build up a couple of the synergies, things start to fly and get hairy. So I wouldn't be surprised if there are some very good aggressive builds out there, and I'll be looking to find out for myself over the coming week. The second article we have here is the new MTG PPTQ system has changed the grind, but is it for the better? By Kaya Patel. This has been commented on, I guess, over nearly 2 years' worth of the PPTQ system now, but this is a really good summary of the UK perspective, and hopefully this translates to other countries by somebody that's obviously seen a lot of recent success, winning GP Bologna, sort of leading a new resurgence in competitive, organised play within the UK. So it's a real good reflection on, have the changes been good? I would say they were definitely necessary. But if we look at the comments, which there were quite a few on this, everybody definitely has their view of what some of the pitfalls are. Jim Corwood really summarised quite well, and I pretty much quit because of it for a number of reasons. There's hardly any sealed events now, which I definitely see as a problem. I liked big events where I'd see all my friends. I really dislike playing in shops and the kind of people that hang around in them. A generalization doesn't apply to everyone. And I think it stamps onto something later on, which says most store level events are poorly run. I think there is definitely a huge discrepancy at the store level between the good events and the very bad events. Twice the chance you have to skip a whole season. You might not be able to play in the RPTQ when it's scheduled, or the Pro Tour, so you might have to decide to skip a whole season because you can't physically make it. I think the advent of MTGO PTQs, which you can now attend, helps that significantly over 2 weekends. And then travelling to an event with an invite is much more appealing than one that qualifies for another qualifier. And then the most telling comment for me comes from Neil Rigby, infamous for his number of PTQ top 8s under the old system in the UK, and Blue Envelope podcast member, when he weighed in, saying, getting time off work to try and qualify for the Pro Tour in Sydney seems worth it. So you can try to get to a random town X to then try again. This makes it less enticing. I've been very lucky in that I've won half of the PPTQs I've played in. He definitely needs to share some of them with his colleague Matt Light. But my attendance has been considerably down compared to the old PTQs. And he says for totally personal reasons, there needs to be more limited ones and there need to be more on Sundays. When I know of one player that actually scooped the final of their first PPTQ just so they could play in the rest of the season, my mind boggles, because he was a very competitive player. So when you've got the competitive side don't want to win too early because they can't play any more Magic, but you've got the more casual side not wanting to try and spike 2 tournaments, there is obviously, I think, a room for improvement, but I don't know what that would be.
Matt Gregory's article, Ancestral Vision and Sword of the Meek will revolutionize Modern, and here's how. First off, Benjamin Robert Hillman said, "Sweet article, dude. I played some games with that blue-white gifts outline today. It's pretty solid and sticks together well already." He goes on into detail about his personal brew and how he would like to change the deck. Then we get David Hassel, who said, "Hey Matt, nice brews. Have you considered playing 4-color gifts with Thopter's Sword?"
Yep, the new modern format's going to be interesting. I don't know if we'll get a good picture of it for a while because of the lack of high-profile tournaments until the next set of GPs. I think it's modern GP weekend at some point over the next month with Charlotte happening in the US. And at those first high-profile events, it'll be really interesting to see what the pros make of this new format. And then the last article we have is Aaron Strawbridge's article on Grand Prix Manchester, the Complete Traveller's Guide. GP Manchester is coming up at the end of May. I will definitely be attending. Probably not playing the main event. I'll be just there to hang out and cube a lot, I think. This Complete Traveller's Guide is really useful and is one of the best things that's come out about this Grand Prix. And Luke Vassallo said, "This is awesome. Thanks for the help. Much appreciated." And I think that's echoed by everybody that will be turning up to Manchester for the first time.
Well, with that, I think we're done with 10-Minute Magic. Ben, thanks as always for joining me.
Glad to be back. And as always, if anybody wants to give us any feedback on 10-Minute Magic, tell us how much you like, how much we could improve what we're doing, you can comment on the article on Manaleak. You can catch me on Twitter, which is the best way to get me, which is at Carbureeta, Carboreeta.
All right, this has been 10-Minute Magic. See you guys later.
Bye.